What's up, party people? It's Keys Dan with RadioWhat.com, DJLittleRock.com, coming to you live and in living color from the Radio What studios. And this is my podcast, What Makes You Famous. It's an extension of the RadioWhat.com internet radio station that I've been running for quite some time. And if you need DJ services, where do you go? DJLittleRock.com. Check availability and get a free price quote. And maybe you can have me at your next event. I like to party with the people. You know I do. Today on the program, well, if you're looking at the YouTube version of this, the video version, Danno Sheehan is coming on the program today. So you have that to look forward to in the next few minutes. Who's Danno Sheehan? Well, I'm not telling. You're going to have to listen to find out. All right. This week's shows. Let's see. Do I have any public shows? Oh, yes, I do. On July 3rd, I have the Friday night video dance party karaoke jam at the Rab in Conway, Arkansas. My usual Friday night gig. Yeah, the place to be in Conway, Arkansas. The Rab. They got the full bar. The kitchen is open. The pool tables. There's a pool tournament going on every Friday night. And there's singing. You're the stars of the show. Karaoke jam. And then on Saturday, well, it's the 4th of July. I don't have anything booked, but I suspect that I will be seeing lots and lots of fireworks. Yeah. So I'm excited about that. All right. Wait. Let's get into it with Danno Sheehan. Yeah. We get to get him on Skype. So if you're listening to the audio version of this, hey, I encourage you to go over to my YouTube channel and check out the video version. Hey, not unless you're driving. Unless you're driving, stay with the audio version. But if you're not driving, if you're just hanging out and just wanting something to watch, you'll get to see Danno Sheehan's beautiful face. All right, Skyping Danno Sheehan now. All right, I'm not hearing you at all right now. I am working.
Well, I'm not speaking.
Oh, there he is. Okay. Now I think I got you straight now. Perfect. All right.
Okay.
Danno Sheehan. It's Keys Dan with the What Makes You Famous podcast. I think we got the sound right. Let's get you your camera a little higher so I can see you. Get you centered up. And if you have a little bit of light in the room, I'd like to see your face. We get we'll put some video on there, and we'll put the audio out there, and we'll get the people knowing a little bit more about you, Danno Sheehan.
Yeah, right. Let me see if I can. Is that any better?
It's a little bit better. I can see the man. That's perfection. There he is. Is that a light behind you? Can you flip that on? The light behind you? There's a lamp.
There's a light there. That might be more difficult because I didn't prepare the room, did
I? The modern technology. I think we got a little bit more light on the subject.
Hopefully that will work.
Well, all right. I believe we are as ready could be. Danno Sheehan, give the people an idea of who you are.
Okay. I come from Ireland. I'm well into my late years.
What is late years to you?
70.
70. All right.
Yeah.
I guess I'm a whippersnapper, a young man of 51. So 70.
Well, there you go. But,
all right.
So
continue
I've been around the music scene since 1960.
Amazing. Well, okay. So if you say you started in 1960, where did a young Danno Sheehan grow up? And am I saying that name properly?
I don't use the O, but I don't mind it. That's fine.
So how do you pronounce your name?
I'm Dan Sheehan.
Dan Sheehan. Well, I'm Dan Gilson. Keys Dan. Yeah. For most of the people, but that's my real name is Dan. And I'm also half Irish. I have an Irish national kilt that I wore to my wedding back in 2001. So I'm very excited to be talking to an actual man from Ireland. I'm fascinated by the green. I guess what do they call it? The Emerald Isle.
Emerald Isle. Yeah, that'll do.
Okay.
I've kissed the Blarney Stone as well. So
you've actually done it. Oh
I've
man,
actually done it. Yeah.
I've heard good things about it. Did it bring you luck? Did it work?
Well, I'm talking to you.
All right. Let's see. I'm going to take that as a compliment coming from you, a man
Yeah.
who has been around for the longest time since 1960. Okay, so in 1960, were you out of high school? Were you still in high school? Uh,
Oh,
what were you doing?
I was in high school.
And that's where you
Um,
started your music career?
um, well, started on piano lessons initially. So by '63, the Shadows and that sort of music was happening. So every 13-year-old got a guitar.
So how old were you when you were 13 when you started playing piano, or were you 10?
I was 7 when I started playing piano.
7. From an
Yeah,
early age. So who got you into the piano? Who said, "Dan, you got to play the piano"?
my mother. It was the thing to do in Cork in those days.
Okay. And was she wanting you to entertain the family, or was she into the piano? Did you have music in the
It,
blood?
it would be considered as part of the proper education in Ireland in those days.
Well, that's fantastic. So music is a part of your upbringing. And was that the way that they were brought up as well? Your mom and dad? How was that like? How were
Uh,
they?
not as much, but yeah, they had a love for music, obviously.
Well,
So
that's
that
fantastic.
was inherited.
Well, what kind of work did your mom do or your dad do?
My dad was an accountant.
So, okay, a man of numbers. Did he like the job? Because some people love that job, and some people just do
Oh
it
yeah,
because it's a job.
he was good. He was good at that. So I never understood as a kid why he was a company secretary. I thought he was a secretary,
So,
but I discovered later on that a company secretary actually does the accounts for large companies.
so Dan, what did you learn from your dad? I mean, what kind of knowledge? What do you think that you gleaned from him?
Um, Respect, I suppose, is the first thing that comes to mind.
I like
He
that.
was, yeah, he's a good dad, and
And then your mom.
fostered my talents, if you like, while I was going through the teenage years.
Well, it's good to have parents that back you up, in all
Yeah,
your crazy dreams. And, all the kids out there that try to do whatever they want to do. I tell the parents, let them explore. It's nice to have a backup plan, send them off to college and university and do that kind of thing. But sometimes kids don't want that university. Maybe that schooling is not the way to go. The streets, the the learning in the bars and the
yeah.
clubs
Well,
and stuff.
they didn't actually know that I was playing in a band at 16.
What kind of band were you playing in at 16? And you said that was 63 or 66?
60, well, we're moving on to about 65 now,
65.
66. Yeah.
Okay.
Uh,
So before that
yeah.
you were not playing in a band.
No, it was a bit too young, but we were still cutting our teeth. We were still learning the guitar at that stage.
Okay, so the piano, you gave it up and then you went for the guitar at 13.
Yeah.
And who bought
That,
you the
that,
guitar?
um, must have been my dad.
Okay, so dad was still, giving you, uh, giving you whatever you needed, whatever tools you needed to get going. And then what did
Yeah,
your
so
mom think about all this?
yeah,
What did your mama think about all this?
she didn't know about it.
So dad was giving you things without mom's knowledge. Uh-oh, that's a little bit naughty. Okay, and well, looking at this, I know you had a pretty big family. You were the oldest of five. Is that
Yeah, that was a small family in Cork in those days. 7 was the average.
wait, would that be Catholic? I guess, or
I
is
guess you're right.
okay. All right. I was born into a Catholic family, and I realize that Catholics are supposed to have big families. That be fruitful and multiply thing. So yes,
Yeah.
I remember that. But okay, so being the oldest, what did your brothers and sisters do? Did you help guide them along, and what are they up to?
Well, we're all scattered. I've got one sister in America at the moment in um, Indianapolis.
Oh, I think I spent one of my first year in Indianapolis. I still have people that live in Greenville or Greenwood, somewhere near
She,
Indianapolis University, Purdue, somewhere in
yes,
that area. As I
she's Carmel,
where
Carmel, which is
Carmel.
a little town or village outside Indianapolis.
Well, you could brag on her. What kind of work she doing? What is she up to these days?
She's actually a writer and a painter, so she's got a bit of talent as well out there.
In the
Uh,
creative arts. I like
yeah,
it, man.
yeah. She's very much into the um, Irish. What's the word I'm looking for?
Culture.
The Irish culture. Yeah, she's very much into Irish culture out there. She teaches on Irish culture.
Well, I'm sure she's pretty popular out there. Like I said,
Yeah.
green is one of my favorite colors. In fact, if you look at the video when we're done here, I'm going to post this up on YouTube, and you'll see that there's a green border. And like I said, I do have an Irish national kilt, and I love wearing that thing at least once a year on St. Patty's Day. And all things Irish. I've had an affinity for it. I'm half Irish, half Cuban. Dad's Irish. I didn't know him very well, but I did, you know, one of the, I mean, if an English, it's Anglophile. What are the people from Ireland? If somebody is really into Irish thing, is it Ireland file? Is there a word for it?
Irish, just Irish,
Just love the Irish. All right.
Irish, just Irish.
And you've actually kissed the Blarney Stone. So all right,
Yeah,
we're kind of going through your years, Dan Sheehan. Sheehan, is that the way to say the last name?
that's that's correct.
Perfect. All right. And we're kind of going through your beginnings, how you started and how you ended up where you are right now. Right in Ireland. What part of Ireland are you in? Corker still?
No, I'm in England now. I'm in
England.
London.
London, the big city. Oh,
Yeah, the big city, man.
you moved away from the small town to the big city. I guess that's
Yeah.
where it's at. That I liken that to maybe New York City, but I think it's a whole lot more than that. There's pubs, lots of bars, lots of places to play. Lots of people to see. I think you're in the place to be. So going from a small town, I'm guessing Corker, was that what it was?
Cork.
Cork, Cork. Well, how
Yeah.
big of a town was that?
It's the second biggest city in Ireland, so I mean it's not that small. It's a university town. It's pretty musically. It's very active, and I've still got friends that I go back to and play with from time to time. So
Oh, that's
it
pretty
carries.
cool. See, you have some long-lasting relationships. That tells me a lot about you, Dan. And okay, so when you were in Cork, how long did you spend there? Till what age? And what were you up to extracurricularly in school? Was it just music, playing piano, playing guitar, and then ultimately in the band?
No. My education goes through the sciences and maths and stuff. So
I like that.
that's what I ended up as a computer consultant in London.
Wow, computers in the 60s, you were on the cutting edge. I mean,
Well,
computers back then were huge rooms, you
yeah.
know. How,
We jumped a bit. This is 73.
okay.
So we've done a bit.
Yeah, but okay, so let's back up
Yeah,
to
I was there at the beginning of computing. Yeah,
let's back up
definitely.
to that first band.
Digital PDP-8s. If
What is a
any of your friends
PDP-8?
know PDP-8s.
What is that?
Now, see if people, yeah, exactly. Get people to write in and tell you what PDP-8 is.
No, I got you. You were the one that helped to create those things, or you were on the cutting edge of those. What is a PDP-8?
I was a programmer rather than a uh, engineer.
Okay. Well, all right, what kind of programs were you writing? What kind of language were they using back then on computers?
Assembler. We started an assembler, Fortran, um, and then I discovered a lovely American language called MUMPS.
Man, I got to learn more about those things. I know
Uh,
in
yeah,
80s when I started on computers, I was using BASIC, Apple Basic, and Pascal. I think those are the
yeah,
first two languages that I learned, and
yeah.
then
You were
quickly.
working on small computers. I was working on what between the PC and the mainframe. There was the ones they were called mini computers.
Yeah, but mini for you is
That was
probably
big.
huge.
Mini was big.
Yeah, mini's bigger than anything we've ever seen. But I'm
Yeah,
guessing you were working with reels and punch cards and all that kind of stuff.
that's where I started. Yeah, paper tape.
Amazing,
Yeah.
amazing. It's easy. It's amazing what I'm going to learn on this podcast from Dan Sheehan. Oh, fantastic! I mean, I know he's a music man. Okay, we all know he's a music man. If anybody knows the name uh, Dan Sheehan, spelled
Yeah,
Danno Sheehan, you
yeah.
know he's a music man. But he's so much more. You actually have
We
some knowledge. You have math. You have science. Tell me
yeah.
more.
We've got to be a little careful because there is another Dan Sheehan in New York who has a band called Banter, and we're not the same person.
Yeah, I'm not worried about that guy. You spell your name Danno, so that way
That's
it
that's why I'm
differentiates you.
Dan Sheehan. Yeah,
Well, fantastic. And this is cool because everybody
yeah,
comes from somewhere, and you've been around
yeah.
since 60 was when you started actually playing music, but
Mm-hmm.
65 you felt you were
60.
good enough to play in a band. And what was that
Yeah.
first band, and what kind of music were you playing back then?
Well, the name of the band was The Shapes, which is based on the airport shapes of things. So that was give you a clue what our main track was. But my big claim to fame was that band played support to Rory Gallagher in Cork back in '65.
Support of what?
Rory Gallagher.
Rory Gallagher. Oh,
Rory.
Rory Gallagher. Okay.
Yeah,
I get it. So what did you
yeah.
learn in that? Well, playing with the big boys back then.
Well, we were a support band at that age. You didn't have the enough equipment to get out there on your own, right? But so you got as many support gigs as you could.
So being a support is that you plug into
Yeah,
their equipment and kind of play
yeah.
along with them.
Basically, no,
Hey,
no. You do the first hour before they come on. You're the
so
warm up act, if
yeah,
you want to.
you're cutting your teeth. You're playing
Yeah,
as the people are coming in. This is
yeah.
I mean, that had to make you feel good at a young age. You were what, 17, 18 by that time?
I was still 16. Yeah, I was
16.
by 17, 18. I had my own band.
Okay, let's go there. What was
Yeah.
that band?
There's a couple of bands, but the main band was a band called Boot House.
Boot
We,
House.
Boot House, yeah.
Oh, what kind of music were
Boot
you
House.
playing there?
We were into Rolling Stones, bit of John Mayall, bit of Peter Green, and a lot of the American blues people as well. So we were going towards blues at that stage.
Well, yeah. Yeah, I could see that's where that's where we're heading, because that's the videos that I've seen of you. That's you playing a lot of harmonica. There's some guitar
Yeah.
in there. Yeah, and you're a rock star. But this is the early days, and this is where you get your you get your inspiration. And are you writing music back then, or are you?
Uh, the one that survived is the one that's on the album, which is called Why Not. I actually wrote the words to that back in the '60s
Wow.
as a teenager. Yeah,
It's good to have a song that has such longevity. I mean,
it survives.
yeah, and this is. I mean, what were you thinking about when you wrote "Why
And
Not"?
listen to the words. I'm not telling you on air.
Okay, all right, everybody's got to listen to that. Why not? And yeah, I guess it's not safe for work, or maybe it is. It's the '60s. Everybody's still
it,
relatively clean, and
it,
some of the music might be suggestive, but I mean, it's not naughty or anything or dirty, and that you can't play out loud.
no, you can play it, but
But it's rock and roll, baby. That's
rock
just
and
the
roll,
name,
man.
rock and roll. It's suggestive, rock and roll, baby. All
Well,
right.
I like to think it's a bit psychedelic as well as blues. So I like a bit of psychedelic.
See, it's nice to mix it up a little bit. And you had the Rolling Stones that were kind of guiding you along, and then the American blues that was kind of giving you a little bit of flavor. You take a little bit from there, a little bit from here,
Yeah.
and then it all comes out. Dan Sheehan, Danno Sheehan. I guess we got to say Danno to differentiate you from the artist in New York.
Yeah.
You're in
That
the
that
in the
uh,
UK. So
I'm
what
in London.
in London? Yeah, well, you're in London now, but we're still hanging out in Cork, getting the early days of Dan Sheehan. And so,
Yep.
what you had your own band? You were playing blues. What kind of gigs were you playing back then?
Just uh, they would have been called youth clubs in those days. They don't seem to do them anymore. They've not been supported. But basically, yeah, we were playing small pubs, um, youth clubs, and as I say, a lot of support to the bigger bands.
So I'm guessing this is like non-alcoholic clubs.
Uh, there's plenty of alcohol going around in those days. Yeah.
Okay. See, I don't know what youth is. I mean, because a youth club to me, when I was living in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, in Broward County, we had a club called Nepentas, and that was a youth club, and it was only you couldn't be over 21. It was I think it was 16 to
Yeah.
21 were the ages that were allowed to be there, and there was no alcohol. I think they served pizzas and stuff, but I used to DJ there, and then they had some bands from time to time. So that to me, that's a youth club. But a youth club to you is maybe somebody that's younger but still drinking age, that's just having a
Well,
few drinks and ready to party.
we didn't have the 21 restriction in Ireland.
Oh,
You could drink 18, you see. So, I mean, this is what I find really strange in America. You can't drink till you're 21. We were professionals by then.
that's true. I mean, I've always believed it. I don't drink alcohol myself, but if you're old enough to vote and you're old enough to go into the armed forces and fight for the country, you should be old enough to get a beer. And I've heard in some countries in Europe, if you could reach your hand up to the counter, you can get yourself a beer. Even at the local hamburger joint at McDonald's or Burger King, they have glasses of beer. And this is just hearsay. I've never been to those countries, but
I don't think, certainly not McDonald's. You won't get a beer in McDonald's here.
all right, maybe this is just movies that are teaching me different things that may or may not be true. I'm sure my listeners will probably be they're fact checking me right now, making sure that
That's
I'm on par.
that's why I put the disclaimer out. I never said
The comments are coming, Dan. The comments are coming. All right, Dan. Well, okay. So 65, you're playing in a band. 60 by 73, you're already a young man working with computers. Are you still playing in bands?
it.
Computers by day.
The problem with being in a blues rock band in Ireland was the show bands were ruling the roost. So there was little opportunity for us to carry on beyond a certain level.
Well, what's the difference
So,
between a show band? What's a show band?
all right, you need to know what a show band is. A show band is the type of, you might call it a functions band, in terms of they play crowd pleasing stuff, the dance material, um, and very little blues. You know,
Okay, I think we would call them
mainly.
a cover band. Maybe they covered
Yeah, I mean, show. Yeah, yeah,
some of the more popular music. Now, I've
yeah,
told people before, you don't necessarily have to know how to write songs and to be a working musician. You could be a cover band and
yeah.
have a real. You could make a pretty good living working weddings and parties and all corporate events and stuff like that. But if you're like Dan Sheehan and you could write your own music, that might be the way to go as well. It's a little tougher road from what I
It's,
understand.
it was tough enough for me to give it up in '72 and get what I would call a proper job.
Yes, I know, but you probably still had a love for playing guitar, and I'm guessing harmonica back then. Were you still were you what are
My
the instruments you're
harmonica
playing now?
the harmonica came a bit later, but the thing was that if you listen to the song "Unfinished Business," which I sent you, that kind of is the roadmap of my life.
Yeah, it's right
Um,
there on your website, right there at the bottom of the website on the front page, unfinished business. If anybody
yeah,
wants to go to danosheehan.com, is that? Yeah, I think that was the
that's
one.
it.
Yeah, danosheehan.com. And I mean, that's the website, and there's I mean, that's the place to visit if you want to know a little bit more. But we're getting it right from your mouth, straight from the horse's mouth, as it were.
Yep.
If you could pull that camera up a little bit so I could see your. Oh, there he is. There's the
Uh,
guy. So you could just sit right there, and you're fully centered, and your camera
you
ready.
got to remember it's 1 o'clock in the morning here, and I'm falling asleep.
Oh, don't you fall asleep. You told me you were a night owl. And, we could have done this a whole lot earlier on a different day, I'm sure. But I'm glad to see you, man. It's good to
Anyway,
see you, Dan Sheehan. And I'm learning a little bit more about you, man. And my listeners are as well. So, okay, let's move up. You're a computer man in '73, working on these huge, giant computers. Any particular? I mean, if you want to say the company, that's fine. If you don't, we could just
yeah.
move along. So,
Well,
take me through the years from '73 until when were you working on computers?
yeah. Well, I started out in a hotel chain, which, like everything else, has had its day now. It doesn't exist anymore. But I cut my teeth for the first 5 or 6 years on hotel computer systems. Um, then I went from working for a company to a contract programmer. So spent the rest of my life as a contract programmer.
Well, pretty good
Uh,
living, or was that all in Cork, or was that when you moved to London?
no, we're in London now. We're
When did you get to London? What year?
72.
72.
That,
Okay, so you had
that,
to move to the big city to make a pretty good living.
yeah, there was no future for me in Ireland at that point if I wanted to achieve something, and I achieved that. Got into computing in London, and the rest is history.
Well, did you go to London all by yourself, or did you take some of the family, or do you have somebody to go
No,
with?
no, no. I went on my own.
Did you? I guess you applied for a job and then went to London, or you just went to London and found a job?
Well, I went to London first at potluck and never went back.
See, that's taking a bet on yourself. That's
Uh,
pretty risky. But if you're in your 20s, I tell everybody, if you're in your 20s, do whatever you want, whatever tickles your fancy, because you're
yeah,
still made of rubber. You can bounce back from almost anything when you're in your
yeah.
20s. Don't you miss that? I miss my 20s. I think those are the glory days. I'm not doing too bad right now. You're not doing too bad right now.
I'm
You're
not
not
doing
too old
too
for
bad.
anything. So, all right.
I'm
So,
I'm
continuing
happily
on.
retired now.
Yeah, but
But
I hope not. I hope you're not completely retired. I hope you're still playing music. But we'll get to that
no,
part of the story in just
yeah.
a little bit because I I,
The,
I
the
want to.
nice thing about being retired is having the pension, not to have to worry about having to earn a living from the music. So I can be a songwriter, not as you call it, a functions band or covers band.
Okay, so you spent enough time in your company that you were able to retire and have a good pension, and now you can live the rest of your life
Yep,
creating.
yep.
When did you
That's
retire?
10 years ago.
10 years ago. Excellent. So in 2010, you chucked it all, no more computers. By that
Yeah,
time, shoot, you were working from you saw the computers go from whole rooms down, down, down to what's in your pocket. The phone in your pocket is a computer that's probably
that's
more
what it was time
powerful.
to get out.
Oh, I mean, you've done the gambit. And what was the last
Yeah.
computer programming that you did before you left?
I was working here. We call it the NHS. Are you familiar with the National Health Service?
I'm familiar with health services. That's pretty
Yeah,
important.
yeah.
So you were helping them with their computer systems?
England has its own health service, so yeah, I was doing some programming for them and building things like pharmacy stock control systems, child health, lots of stuff along those lines. Yeah, so yeah,
That's fantastic. I'm fascinated with computers. I know I was using, IBM type computers back when I was a kid in the '80s, in high school,
yeah,
and just enjoying myself. Tore them apart. I built them back up. Adding more memory, adding more hard drive. Just making them bigger, better, stronger, faster. And you went from when they were. You thought that having such a small a bit of memory and then, oh wow, this is getting faster and faster and faster. Oh my goodness, you've been through the years. That's
Yeah, they really have speeded up.
yeah.
Trust me.
Oh yeah.
And we now talk about memory. We didn't have that amount of disk space.
Yeah, I remember my first computer had was it 2 gigs of hard drive, and I thought, or was it 2 gigs? Yeah, and I thought, ooh, I'll never fill that up. I filled it up in a month with music and videos.
Yeah.
But that was my first computer back in I don't know, in the mid '90s, maybe the one that I bought myself. I've had some in the house, some older computers, but wow, that's amazing. And so, but you left that. 2010, you got your pension. Now what happens? Where's Danno Sheehan going to go?
Well, um, so going back 10 years before that, which is 2001, I was, remember the Millennium Bug that didn't exist?
Ah, that's right. You had to change the 2 digits to 4 digits, so
Yeah,
all the computers wouldn't explode. They didn't
yeah.
explode.
No. Well, I ended up in Glasgow over the Millennium.
Okay, all right. And what were you doing back in Glasgow?
I was doing the Millennium Bug.
Oh, okay, all right. And so
Uh,
that's where the same company sent you back to Glasgow.
well, I've been through a lot of as a contract programmer. You don't remember how many contracts you've had. Trust me.
Yeah. So I guess you're working for yourself, or you're working. Uh,
Yeah, I'm
oh,
looking for my
okay.
stage. Yeah. Uh,
See, man, I have one company where I work for myself. I have another company where I work for somebody else. I kind of like working for myself, of course, uh, but I do work well with others. I understand. So, but
yeah,
okay, so you were able to retire from your own corporation, your own company. That's
yeah,
fantastic. So
yeah.
after you saved us all from the Millennium Bug, were you still doing music at all for those 20 years or so? 20,
It,
30
it,
years?
it was at that point I got back into music.
Okay, how'd that happen? What was the turning
Yeah.
point?
Well, I met a very talented young lady in Glasgow.
It's always
Beautiful
a lady.
voice.
It's always a
She,
lady. Yep.
she's on the website if you want to look at it. But so yeah, so yeah, I had 2 or 3 beautiful years in Glasgow.
Okay, what was her name?
Marie McCormick.
Okay, it's amazing what ladies can do to us or for us or what we'll do for them. We'll follow them anywhere.
Yeah,
So, all right. So you started singing with her or playing with her?
yeah, we put a band together, yeah, for a while.
A duo or trio, quartet?
Uh, it started as a duo, but it ended up as a full-fledged 5-piece band called
Excellent.
Canvas.
So when you started out as a duo, just with her, what kind of clubs are you playing? What kind of gigs?
Um, well, I think we were really playing just what we call open mics, nothing professional at that point. But
Yeah, getting your groove back, getting back
yeah,
into the game. And were you
yeah.
playing originals or were you playing covers? And does she also
Uh,
write
we,
music?
we were a covers band at that stage. And we did quite a few of the festivals, the blues festivals from Cullen to Dundee. So we established ourselves quite well.
What kind of covers were
Unfortunately,
you doing, Dan?
sorry,
What kind of covers were you doing?
she was big into Eva Cassidy, so we were doing a lot of Eva Cassidy, Bonnie Raitt, and back to the good old Stones and the Creedence Clearwater. So it's good. It was a good rock sound, and having a female fronting it, we had
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean that's who they're all there to see.
a lot of
You
interest.
got
Yeah,
some boys in the back playing and doing whatever, but it's that pretty girl up front. That's what they came to
that
see.
that's what fun.
That's a good
Yeah.
selling point. No, but you did that from 2001. And when did what's the progression of the band? 2001, you were doing the duet, and then you started adding more members to the band.
Yeah,
And what
yeah.
was the name
That
of the
that
band?
that lasted till about 2005.
What was the name of
And
the
then
band?
that was canvassed.
Canvassed. Okay, I
Yeah,
get it. And well, canvassed your cover. Yeah, I get it. It makes
yeah.
sense. That's just almost on the nose, almost.
Yeah.
So
So,
good. All right. So from 2000 to 2001 to 2005, you did that. You did some
yeah,
covers, and then what happened?
yeah. We even brought out an album called Undercover.
Dig it. And where can we find that album? Is it out there anywhere?
It's out there. I'm just about to re-release it at the moment, so watch the space. Yeah,
Excellent.
that's a bit of negotiation going on at the moment. So
Okay, looking for distribution on that one. I'm sure you're signing contracts or negotiating. You got people talking for you. Okay, so was that band signed anywhere, or was
no,
that?
no, no, no.
Okay, I get it. Okay, all right. So 2005. What was the turning point? What happened?
Um, I went back to London.
Okay, you said no. I can't take it here in Ireland. I got to go back to the big city. But
Be-
Glasgow's pretty big.
yeah.
But all right, but you had to London was calling. London calling.
London calling. Yeah.
All right, so you got back to London, and what happened?
Um, I kind of drifted for about 5 years.
Okay, how do you sustain? How do you keep yourself going?
Well,
Were you playing?
so I went back to the day job. Is what I meant.
Oh, okay, all right, okay. So you went back to computers. Hey, that's a good living.
I still hadn't retired at that stage.
Okay, so you were still computers by day and then Rockstar by night from
Yeah,
2001 to 2005. All right, so
yeah.
2005 till 2010, you go back to the Joe job. What your mom and dad would call the real job.
I got a real job again.
Yep.
Yeah.
Did you have to cut your hair, or were you able to keep it long?
No, if you look at my Glasgow pictures, I've got short hair in them for that reason.
Yes, yes, you do.
This hasn't been cut since 2010.
And it won't be. I better not
Well,
be. I love it. Okay, so 2010, you're done. You're done with working for somebody else. It's time to work for yourself. What are you doing, Dan?
what am I doing? Basically, I've been putting bands together for the last 10 years. And more and more, well, to get the gigs, you have to do the covers.
Yes,
But I've been sneaking some of my own tracks in.
that's the way you do it. I mean, a lot of
And that's
times the bands will come in, they'll do 80% covers, maybe. Hey, you want to hear one of mine? And everybody by that time will say, yeah, they're all drunk. They got they're all
yeah.
liquored up. So, yeah, we'll listen to something new. And then you get to play something new for them. And hopefully it
I, I
goes
I
well.
prefer it when they come up to me and say, "You know that song you did three numbers ago? Who wrote it?"
Yeah. And that way you can
I,
say, I did.
which means
Yes. Oh, I
which
remember.
means that they've actually didn't notice it was an original.
Yeah, I remember I was in an
And
Irish
that's
pub.
my definition of success.
I was at an Irish pub and I was listening to this folk singer, and he was playing guitar and singing. And I would always ask him, "Hey, what song is that?" And he'd always say, "I wrote it. I wrote it." That was his answer for everything. I wrote it because I didn't know about it. He was playing all these Irish folk songs that I had no idea about, but they sounded so sweet, so harmonious, and so fun. But oh my goodness, that's my little experience with the Irish. I love it. I love it. But I'm talking to the Irish right now, who's been transplanted to London since well, I guess for a long time now. But all right, 2010. Did you put a band together?
Yeah. I'm trying to remember the exact sequence of this. But yes, I mean, I think for a while I was in other bands.
Okay,
Because it takes a lot of energy to put a band together.
absolutely. It's easier to
Uh,
be a hired gun. I guess you'd go in as a guitarist or harmonica player for the most part.
yes,
Yeah.
that's what
Are
it
you
is,
still
yeah.
writing songs at this point?
I've got a second album in progress. The lockdown has kind of put me behind because I can't get into the studio. Studios are closed at the moment.
Wow.
Yeah, it's yeah.
Well, I mean,
So
the creators have to find more creative
yeah,
avenues, and that's what you're doing. Is
that's
how do
yeah.
you get how are you getting the creative juices flowing?
Well, that because we can now sort of stay in our what's now called bubbles over here.
Yeah.
We can actually see a couple of people at a time. So we're getting the rehearsing underway.
Well,
Therefore,
this miracle of modern technology. You could play your part, and then they can add their part, and it could be several different parts. And as long as you have a good producer, they can put all those parts together and make a song.
yep. But they need to be rehearsed first. This is the problem. It's you can't just give somebody something to do at the other end of a phone and expect to have the right feel. I've tried it. It doesn't work.
Well, previous to our coronavirus lockdown from
Yeah.
2010, you're starting to play some music. I mean, how many songs are you writing? I mean, you say you have one album, and was that all written by you,
That
or was that in
that was brought out in where was it? 16, wasn't it? I think it was 2016. I brought that one out. So it's been around quite a while.
And what's the name of that band? What's the name of that album?
That's Passing Time. The band is called W3 Detour.
W3 Detour. I think I saw that on your website, and I was trying to figure
Yeah.
out what that was exactly. So W3
Well,
Detour is how many pieces in that band?
that's a 5-piece band.
Okay. What
Yeah.
pieces were they?
Drums, bass, 2 guitars, female vocalist when I could find one.
Okay, so you didn't have
guy.
you didn't have an actual lineup that you were playing with, or was
We had a fairly regular lineup.
okay?
It was very much a case of what the venues were prepared to pay. If they were prepared to pay a little more, I'd add a 5-piece. It'd be a 4-piece otherwise.
Gotcha. So the fifth piece is that is the female
player,
backup.
a keyboard player, whatever.
Okay, and then the singer. Are you a vocalist as well?
I have become a vocalist in the last 5 or 6 years. So yeah.
Okay, because from what I was looking at, it mostly was female fronts. Whenever you were singing on some of the videos that I was looking at, I guess I didn't go through all the videos, but you've had well, I mean, what was the lineup back then? I mean, I like to give credit where credit is due. If you can remember some of the people that were in the band, some of the people that have helped you along the way, I like to name names. Let people know
Yeah.
who they are so they could find them.
Yeah. Who?
Like who's your
Anna
drummer?
Lucas is what one of the vocalists I've worked with. Maggie Ryan is another one.
Anna Lucas,
Whereas,
Maggie Ryan. Okay,
yeah, yeah.
very cool. How about who's the drummer? If you're
Gabrielle,
if you're in the front, who you're naming off the band? Hey, on drums, I got this guy.
yeah.
Who is it?
Who is it? It's Rosemary. What's up? I forgot. Rosemary Poole.
All right, I know I'm putting you on the spot and everything. I like to know people.
No, it's Rosemary these days. So I had to think, hey, she's got a surname. Oh yeah, she's got a surname.
All right, and then on bass, who's on bass?
Bass. Who's on bass these days? I've got a few bass players. John Kettner is on the album. Yeah, bass players are difficult to get at the moment.
Where are you meeting up with these people? Are you meeting them at the studio, or are you meeting them in clubs, or are you jam sessions, or how do you?
Well, it's a mixture of all. I organize a weekly rehearsal when we're not in lockdown.
We're at.
So it's a matter of finding somebody who's available, because a lot of the bass players and drummers like to play in several bands.
Oh yeah, I mean that makes sense. If you can
Yeah.
play, you try to play every day, to make your.
So
Yeah,
basically, you have to have two or three bass players and drummers lined up in case they've already taken a gig on a date. You say, "Are you available?" And they go, "Oops, I'm playing that night."
absolutely. I know that here in town in Conway, Arkansas, in the USA, we have a place called TC's, and on Sunday nights they have the Sunday night jam session, and I appreciate that because all the local musicians get together from different bands. You'll have a guitarist and a drummer from this band, and a keyboard from that band, and a vocalist from the other band, and they all get together, and it forms a kind of a family unit. And I don't know if that's the way it is there in London.
We've got exactly the same. We've got a number of venues that, like the Spice of Life in the centre of London. Out in Southgate, which is North London, there's a club called Set Harmonicas, which again provides that sort of facility. You put your name down, you don't know who you're going up with. I call it a bungee jump because you start the song and you don't know if the rope is going to get. Crocodile will get you when you get to the end, or you'll just be pulled up in time.
Oh, that's fantastic. Who was I talking to that was at the Spice of Life just recently? Oh, David Eastman from Say Yes, Do Nothing. I think he's a little bit younger, but that's a band that they play there in London. I just talked to him,
Yeah,
maybe like a not even a week ago. But
I
the
don't think I've come across him.
yeah, the band's name is Say Yes, Do Nothing. His name is David Eastman. Now he's from Seattle, Washington, and then he ended up moving to London for a girl, and then he met up with three other lads from London, and they formed a band. It's amazing. The
I'll
music
check them out. I'll check them
music
out.
brings people together. You
Yeah.
could form a band if you play guitar, and then if somebody else is playing drums. I mean, it's amazing to me. I have guitars, I have keyboard, I have a harmonica. I don't know how to play them very well. I like to try noodle on them a little bit, but I'm so impressed with people that can actually come up with music in a song. I mean, how are you writing music? Are you do you write the words first, or do you write the lyrics, or as you're writing the words, does the melody come into your head?
It's mainly if you take the last album, most of the songs were written during my Glasgow phase, so they're always about women, and basically the theme of the tracks are my inability to do commitment.
So never been married, a confirmed bachelor.
And I find it easier to write the song to explain why I can't do it. So if you figure out some of the words that you know,
Dan Sheehan, have you never been committed? You never been married,
I,
or
I, yeah, I was married back in the 70s. I got married. I was married for 20 years. So
so you had
uh,
some kind of a commitment. You made the run, and did any
I
kids
did.
come out of that?
I've got two beautiful daughters.
Excellent,
Yeah,
excellent. You
yeah.
did good. How are the kids doing?
Kids are fine. One's in San Francisco. The other one's in Pretoria in South Africa. So
Wow, what are they doing? What's the one in San Francisco doing?
she's what's now called HR, which we used to call oh god, my brain's getting a bit addled at this hour tonight.
Well, I know it's
Um,
human resources. She handles people,
resources, yeah, HR, yeah,
and then in
that'll do.
and
Yeah.
then in Pretoria, what's she doing in Africa?
She's a lawyer, so she's out there working for one of the big banks on the legal side of things.
You did good. You did
Yeah,
good. You
oh yeah, yeah.
you were fruitful in more ways than one. You've had these beautiful daughters, and now you have these bands that you can call,
Yep.
that have become your legacy through the years.
Well, that's what I'm trying to achieve before I kick the bucket.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to live forever through your music, and that's something that no
That's
one can
the
ever
idea.
take away. They will always remember Danno Sheehan, and I have to say Danno, even though you only use the Dan. but I'm going to say Danno Sheehan, so people will find it.
Yep.
If I say the name often enough, people will remember. Oh yeah, Danno Sheehan. That's right. That's the one. That's the one I need to
Yeah.
look up and find out more
Well,
about.
I tend to associate with Book him Danno.
Yes, yes, Hawaii 5-0. That's right, Jack
Well,
Lord. Yeah,
yeah, that's the idea.
and not the new Hawaii 5-0, the old Hawaii 5-0
Oh,
with Jack
definitely the
Lord.
old one. Yeah.
Fantastic.
I've seen the new one.
All right, so 2005, the band breaks up, and then you come up with some other bands. Or what else have you been doing since 2005?
Well, 2005, I sort of jumped from 2005 to 2015, really,
I'm sorry.
because
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's my
that's
bad. Yeah, going into 2015, you already have your first album made up, and now
got my
uh,
first album out. I've been on the road, if you like, for quite some time, uh,
fantastic.
and you know, I've been working towards my second album.
Excellent.
Uh, been developing that, but we've just got into this hiatus in the last month.
Well, I mean, from
Uh,
2015, who's been helping you to write these songs, or are you writing them all yourself?
I write my own songs, yeah.
But who's helping you to record them? What studio are you using?
I'm using. I've used a variety of studios with different producers, because you, you if your producer is not giving you the right feel, then you have to move on, and you have to stay true to what you want to achieve. So it took a while to get this
Oh,
first album.
I have no doubt. It's good to have a good producer because you can come to someone with an idea, and a producer, an engineer, will help you to flesh out the good parts of that song, and it's nice to have that. But if they're not going the direction that you want them, you got to tell them to hit the road, Jack.
Yeah, and
And
that happened a few times to get that album out. So I don't want to name names.
no, of course not. Of course not. But who's the team now? Are you working well with others? I mean,
I'm,
until
I'm
coronavirus hit, what were you doing?
yeah, I'm building the team. Um, Doing a couple of experimental recordings at the moment, which if they go well, then we'll move with that. But at the moment, I need to keep that under wraps.
Uh-oh, super secret. This may not be the first
Not
time.
super
This
secret.
may
It's
not be
just
the last time we talk to Danno Sheehan because he's got some super secret stuff going on. No, you say it's not
yeah,
super
yeah.
secret.
I've got
I play.
collaborations which are confidential at the moment. So yeah,
I like that. You work well with others. All right. So
yeah.
let's zoom into where you are now. And this is, I'm going to say, previous to March. What kind of gigs were you doing, or have you been playing around London, Spice of
Yeah,
Life, and other places?
for the last couple of years we've been doing a lot of the festivals. Not the big festivals, but the sort of local London festivals.
Oh, to me,
Um,
anything more than 100 people in front of me, that's big. That's
oh yeah,
huge.
we're talking thousands rather than hundreds, but yeah,
I love it.
uh,
You're a star, man. If you could sell more than 100 tickets, I think you're tops to me. That's fantastic.
yeah.
So
Well, obviously the festivals here involve several bands. You get your 45 minutes of fame, and that's it, rather than
45
take.
minutes though, with playing with other bands. Like I said, it's
Yeah.
music becomes a big family. And then at the end of these festivals, my one of my favorite parts is when all the band members, if there's time and allotment, that they all come up on stage and start jamming together. To me, that is a hoot. Have you ever been involved in any of that kind of thing?
It doesn't tend to work that way over here, but yeah, we call those jams. We do a lot of jamming with the family, if you want to call it the family musicians around London.
Absolutely. So what's the current lineup? What's the current band? Is it still WD3?
It's at the moment it's splitting into two, if you like, and this is the new direction. This is why I can't talk about it just too much at the moment. But W3 Detour will stay as the covers band.
Got it.
They'll be doing Velvet Underground, Rolling Stones, that sort of stuff. Yeah. Um,
And then you're splitting
and
off into your onto originals.
my second album will be done much more in a kind of folky country. So it's not suitable for the band.
Oh, not
So
this.
I'm
It won't be the same members. It'll be a totally different band.
totally different band. Yeah.
Fantastic. That's good. That you can experience a different. I mean, even we've talked about the Rolling Stones a little bit during this podcast. Even they individually had solo projects that weren't exactly like the Rolling Stones. As great as the Stones are,
Yeah.
I can't even say were. They still are going. As great as they
Yeah.
are, Mick still went on his own. Keith went on his own. Ron Wood went on his own. They've all done their own thing over the
But yeah,
years.
yeah. W3 Detour will keep the core feel and sound that I like. Yeah. While I go off and experiment with other genres of music, if you like.
Oh, you cannot hold yourself down. I appreciate that you got to have your creative juices flowing.
Yeah.
Danno Sheehan. Oh, fantastic. So, all right. So, since we're recording this in June of 2020, we could put a little bit of a time capsule on what's going on right now. That we're currently locked down in quarantine. The coronavirus is sweeping the world. COVID-19. So, what have you been doing since we've been locked down? Are you able to you not able to get out at all? You're having to play
Well,
with yourself
well,
there?
at my age, of course, I fall into the vulnerable group.
Right, right, right. I see you have your
So,
guitar back there, though. You still able to
uh,
play every day?
of course, yes. I mean, I've got several guitars. I've got my own home studio here as well, which is where I experiment with.
So you're able to record at the house then?
Well, not to the radio quality level, but certainly I can record for demo purposes.
Oh yeah, I tell
Yes.
people for under $1,000, you could probably get a decent equipment that you can at least make a demo and take it to an engineer and kind of flesh it out, or take it to the other members so they could kind of practice
But
it.
yeah,
Oh,
that's what I'm doing. Yeah,
that's fantastic. Well, don't lose it. Don't lose that. So after we break out of this, and history shows that this virus will probably be hanging around for at least till the end of the year. Maybe next year things will start to get more normal as it was in 2018. I mean, in 1918 with the Spanish flu. If history
yeah.
shows by 2000, I mean by 1919 they were able to break out. So I suspect by January, February. What do you expect to be doing in the after we break out of quarantine?
Well, the the as I said, I see two. I see myself dividing my time into two. One is to keep for want of a better word, the covers band W3 Detour going in the sort of for my fun band, if you like,
Yeah.
and a more solo career as Danno Sheehan, with invited musicians to come along on projects uh, to promote the new album, which hopefully will be finished sometime this year.
Well, very
You know?
exciting. A very exciting time, Dan O'Sheehan. I'm
Yeah.
so super stoked to at least get a little idea of who you are. I think we've kind of gotten an idea of who Dan O'Sheehan is, and where you are right now and how you got to this point. Just a little bit. So I know that there's projects on the horizon. There's things that are happening. As- At 70 years old, you're just beginning. This is just the start. You're starting new projects. Yeah, I see nothing but good things coming. All right, so let the people know uh, how to get a hold of you, how you want them to connect with you, either social networking and that kind of thing. How do they find
I'm
you?
I'm on, I'm on Twitter under both handles, Danno Sheehan and W3 Detour. Same, I'm on Facebook as Danno Sheehan with a page called W3 Detour. So yeah, the websites. I also have two websites. So you know, you'll find me.
Yeah, who's putting those websites together? Is that you?
I do them myself because I'm a technician as well. So
Yes,
yeah,
you are.
they're my own design, written from scratch.
Fantastic. The man knows computers and he knows
Doing
music.
PHP, I do it all myself.
Well, all right. I know it's getting kind of late over there in London, England. I usually finish these things off with last words for the people. So, Danno Sheehan, you could talk about it. It could be something that you've heard when you were younger, or words to live by, or just whatever pops into your head right now. Danno Sheehan, last words for the people.
Well, enjoy your life. Do what you believe in, and stick at it.
Well, there you have it, party people. Danno Sheehan. Dan Sheehan. Okay, he goes by Danno because it's another Dan. So don't get him confused with the one in New York. He's the one in the UK. Danno Sheehan. Branded. Yes. Look for him. Look for his website, danosheehan.com. It's pretty simple. He designed it all himself, and all the information you need is right there. Find him on Twitter. Find him on YouTube. You'll find out even more about Danno Sheehan. So good that I got the chance to talk to him. The man's been around the block a little bit. Okay, he's been doing it since at least 1960. So that's fantastic. The man's been doing it longer than a lot of you have been around on this earth. So yeah, since before you were born, he was rocking. He was playing the blues. He was playing all kinds of different genres. That's right. Don't limit yourself. Be like Dan Sheehan. Don't limit yourself. Get a little bit from here, a little bit from there, and make your own music. How about that? Ah, I'm so jealous of people who have that talent that can have a feeling and then write songs and express those feelings and send them out into the world. And he's working on his second album. I look forward to hearing that when it comes out. So yes, thank you so much, Dan O'Sheehan, for being on the program. What makes you famous? And if you'd like to tell your story, yes, I'm talking to you. If you'd like to tell your story, I encourage you to give me a call at 501-470-6386 or email info@radiowhat.com. That's it for me. It's Keys Dan, radiowhat.com, djlittlerock.com. Peace. I'm out of here.